Chrono Trigger is not only one of my favorite games, matter of fact, it's my all-time favorite game. With the re-release of Chrono Cross earlier in the year, it got me to thinking, Chrono Cross ain't the real successor to Chrono Trigger, so I wanted to create my own type of game, fan game. So Square Enix, if you ever see this, like, I'm not gonna do nothing with your game, it's your property, but it's my favorite game, and y'all ain't doing shit with the game. It's been since 1995. I guess the Radical Dreamers Edition just dropped, but it didn't even get the Live a Live treatment where we got full voice acting for it, which I think that would have really helped the game. So what is my problem with Chrono Cross, and why would I want to do an RPG Maker game to it in the first place? Well, it's mainly because Chrono Cross is so convoluted. Chrono Trigger was simple and clean like Kingdom Hearts, while Chrono Cross, it felt like it had to make every and each situation more complicated than it needed. I took some of Chrono Cross and some of Trigger and made Crush. Well, the reason why I decided to make it Crush is because my fan theory, relax, is the relationship between Chrono and Meryl was a little forced. Like, you bump into her, you saved her, yeah, but that's just Chrono being Chrono. I'm sure he saved Luca more than a few times with sword skills like that. And then again, he sacrificed his life for the greater cause of everybody way down the line in 12,000 AD. The Iniquity, I think that Chrono and Luca had something going. And when I was sitting there writing it down and just tinkering with it into my head, I was like, how about we do Frog and Meryl as a couple as well? Now, before you sit here and click off the video and start cussing me out, first of all, Chrono Trigger is my favorite game. I played it in '96. It came out in '95. It was my first quote-unquote official RPG, even though I did play Mario RPG before I played Chrono Trigger, which would explain why I have like this obsession with Geno. And the reason why I decided to call it Crush is, the obvious, because I wanted to explore the relationship that Luca had with Chrono and even do like scenes or things within the little side game. And I wanted to give Luca some kind of inner dialogue or mindset that not only was the thing between her mother Laura, breaking and getting legs mutated, was one of the things she always wanted to do. What she always wanted to tell Chrono how she felt about him, and her time was going to be at, the Millennial Fair. However, Meryl happened, and then the Lens bell rang. I wanted to put Luca waiting on the outskirts for Chrono, but Meryl and Chrono didn't see him. So I even thought about the fact that Frog is a stand-up dude. Frog would definitely not do his homie Chrono if he thought Meryl was really his girl. But yes, Luca's his best friend. I get it. And yes, females and males can be friends. Yeah, that's situational. Honestly, the best lovers most of the time are really good friends. So, at the end of the day, I know you're asking, what's the main purpose of this fan service game? To uproot the whole Chrono Cross situation. If the events in Chrono Cross, so I know you're thinking, Geek, what's the whole purpose of this fan service Chrono Trigger Crush 2 game? Well, it's to uproot and basically just not have the events of Chrono Cross happen at all, because Chrono Cross, all the people in the islands, basically, they just been isolated, and they're like really this Deus Ex Machina type of story when it comes to where they were and why they were, and how come we didn't see these other like 20 continents when we were playing Chrono Trigger. Like, nobody knew. Fate made it that way. Fate. I mean, of course, I'm not Aoki or Sakagachi, but I do have access to Akira Toriyama art because of Dragon Ball, and he had influence on Chrono Trigger too. Basically, Chrono is freaking Goku, which transitions over to the second part, why I decided to call it Crush. I really was thinking of the word crunch as in space crunch, as in the reverse side of the Big Bang, which is the big crunch, which everything collides together and restarts everything. I want to do that, or I'm going to be doing that, except calling it crush, instead the things are crushing together. And the things that are crushing together are going to be the multiverse. I mentioned about Akira Toriyama because what I'm going to do, and since this isn't my story, I can't do nothing with it but fan service stuff. I'm going to use basically the Trunks arc for the opening part of this story. Now, I'm not going to make a full-fledged out game, maybe 3-4 hours, if that. So, Jade, the daughter of Glenn, Jade, the daughter of Meryl, and Frog, which I forgot to mention that part, why Meryl decided that she was going to talk to Glenn, because Luca had created this serum called Maiden's Kiss, which would allow Frog to turn into his human form. But to act upon her theory, which was a princess's kiss changed a frog back to a human or to a prince, Meryl kisses Frog and realizes that my G's a heartthrob. He a bona fide husbando. And not only did that shock her, but, you know, having to go back and forth kissing somebody to get an experiment, I mean, not everybody's actors. You see what happens to some of these actors. Because this is my favorite game, I was very skeptical on doing certain things to certain characters, which is why I decided to make it in a different multiverse or different timeline, because of the fact some things in actions the characters wouldn't or won't do. However, I was going to have it where Luca was talking, or she had some kind of monologue, or she had some kind of diary or something that Meryl stumbled across that made her second guess, like, oh damn. You know, a whole Aerith and Tifa type situation, like, hey, she kind of likes this dude. And then that's when the situation between her and Glenn started escalating. And in this particular time period, that the Time Devourer, which is the Time Devourer, which was evolved from the Dream Devourer, which was evolved from Lavos, which sounds like Dragon Ball right there. And if you look at Dragon Ball Lavos and look at Cell, I mean, it is Akira Toriyama. Those two fit. Their forms look like each other. So I'm just going to use that. So we know that Scala has been being devoured by Lavos within the Darkness Beyond Time at the end vents from the Chrono Trigger and the DS Chrono Trigger. So we know that she's being absorbed, and that's how she clones herself in between that time between Chrono Trigger and Chrono Cross to be a clone. So what I decided to do instead of that is allow her to do that, clone herself, and while Magus is there at that final battle, she already had wiped his mind clean. I decided that she would clone herself just like she did, and what she would do is Magus would lose his memory, or she cloned Magus. And then, yeah, I have her clone Magus as well. And then she'd send them off into the dimensional vortex, which is the place where Dalton has been residing. And Dalton decides to create, you know, these androids, which would be Android Kid and Android Sir. A lot of stuff I still want to, like, trim some of the fat, because even by me talking about it, even though I was looking at some of the notes, I got some of the stuff written down, it's not as convoluted as Chrono Cross, believe me, because the beats for this is very simple. The beats that I have for the story beats is in 1000 AD, the events of Chrono Trigger happen, and then in 1002 AD, Jay goes back to the future to warn Luca about the coming Dalton and the androids. Jay defeats Ozzy, Flea, and Slash again, who were teleported to this time via a gate from Ozzy's fort, which was the last time we got a chance to see Ozzy. Jade intended only for only to confront Luca, much like Trunks wanted to only confront Goku, but the entire party was present. In 103, Meryl helps Glenn turn back into a human with Luca's help, who we saw about earlier, the Maiden's Kiss, and then Luca somehow confesses her feelings, or Meryl overhears, or she reads something. In 104, in this timeline, Jade is born, and then in 105, Dalton returns after his defeat. He travels to his secret lair, which was in the dimensional vortex, a lair underground where he kept Android Kid and Android Surge. So then I did some notes too that was answering my own questions, because many of y'all know when you write stories or just, just theorizing things, you put the little thought bubble up and you just start putting stuff in, one of the oldest little writing things. Because Dalton was located in a dimensional vortex, which is a fragmented pieces of lost time jammed together in a temporal instability, there was no way to locate his precise location. So why didn't Jade go back and kill Dalton? Well, he was in a dimensional vortex. So it's the same situation why Trunks didn't go to kill Dr. Gero instead of going to talk to Goku, because he didn't know where Dr. Gero was and it was going to take too long. And I think it's even more hand in hand when it comes to dimensional vortex, because the dimensional vortex from the DS to end, the little extra 3-4 layers, it could be anything, Also, I did want to keep a character that was an alien and had a deeper story meaning, and I don't know how we'll work him into the game or whatever, because it's not going to be that long to be able to have a whole cast of party members. But Starkey sheds light on the Lavos situation. Remember Starkey from Chrono Cross with the little alien? He explains how Lavos almost destroyed their entire species, and he was sent to monitor the party to see if the Earth should be spared. That actually was an event in Chrono Cross. I'm just going to carry over here. I also made a note. Jade is the daughter of Meryl and Frog from a different multiverse who was raised by Luca in 16 years. So in 1020 in the future, where Dalton destroyed Guardia and it enacted the events for Chrono Cross. But except in this timeline, the Time Devourer is going to devour time. Remember that the time Lavos was in Chrono Trigger, and then in 12,000 BC in the Ocean Palace, Scala was absorbed by Lavos, and Lavos for between Chrono Trigger and between Chrono Cross, Lavos was while he was absorbing, he was in his second phase, which was the Dream Devourer. And once he fully absorbed Scala, then that's when he would become the Time Devourer. And by just doing some research and stuff, and then looking on the best probably Chrono Trigger Chrono site, the Chrono Compendium, where I got a lot of information from as well, is that in one of these universes, the Time Devourer is going to win. That's the universe that I'm playing with when it comes to Jade and when it comes to these things. So a lot of the things I'm going to be using here are going to be variants, and because I really like Loki. Matter of fact, Loki and WandaVision are my favorite two of the Disney Plus MCU ones. So I'm going to be using that, as well as we just talked about, some of the time distortions and multiverse from Dragon Ball. So, I know my mouth is dry. Wow. But that's the basis of what I want to do, and yeah, I'm gonna be doing that. I'm gonna be that's the basis I was gonna do. So I want to talk about it more here, but I also will be doing it, some of the graphics and things using like the pixel art and the actual RPG Maker to build the maps and everything. I'll be doing that pretty much every Wednesday over on Twitch if you guys want to catch me over there. Also, please, for those of y'all who know about Chrono Trigger, I reached out to a few of my folks who's diehard Trigger fans like I am too. Let me know how it sounds. I know it's all over the place. And if you would like me to go into more of a detail, well, I don't know why I was doing this, wax on, wax off, detail about certain situations and things, or if you have any input, like this is just a fan-made game, and again, by it being my favorite game, I wanted to put the right energy into it. I didn't want to just kind of like on it because I don't want to disrespect the characters, which is one of the reasons I was like, hey, how about I use it in a multiverse? Also, one of my favorite characters that I had ended up creating in the story was Adonis. And what I wanted Adonis to be was basically Oob, which was a brother. And it was give my reasons a way that I can insert black people into this world, or at least into this particular multiverse. And as a black creator and person who absorbs this content, if I make something, I'm putting some people that look like me. But I'm gonna close here because I gotta chop this video up, and we already talked about editing. But if you do like JRPGs and RPGs and this video, do me a favor and make sure to hit this like button. I said that like button. And if you're new to the channel, and again, you like these role plays, make sure you subscribe. I make geekly content here on the channel all the time at The Geek Show. Also, you can find me Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, everything. Hive, y'all had me get a hive because Alexa, stop. Y'all had me get a hive too, just to secure that Geek Show name. I'll holler at y'all later. Peace. For the longest time, I wasn't being legit or for real with myself either, because that was a part of me. And even though I was doing it in secret. And then it just hit me. And that's when it hit me. And that's when I became a geek. Finally, the sleeper has awakened. I am the prince of all geeks once again.